So welcome back, guys, and here we go again with the little help from our loving admin Dodge, who's also a co-caster as well as the rest in the crew. It seems like we are going to be getting
Up,
into
guys.
our next game, and it's Ishtein versus Jonassonfan, round number 3 here in the Legend of Runeterra Philippines Newbie Tourney. PandaUser still accompanying me, and it seems like it's going to be the mid-range Bannerman versus a potential elusive deck because we see the Zed on the side on
Yeah.
Jonassonfan.
So a Bannerman versus the elusive deck.
Yeah, we'll
Basically, I mean, you're gonna build the board as early as right now. Versus an elusive deck. The elusives can't really go up against these Bannermen. It's gonna have a rough time against them because mostly damage dealing units. They're tough. Aside from being tough, they have more HP. Okay, elusives. You can't block an elusive unit for those of you who are joining. Or new to the game, elusive units can only block elusive units, and elusive units can block other units.
Yes, dude. Elusive units are like, if you think about Dragon Ball Z, basically, they're always on those Nimbus clouds, and you can't really touch them. You can't really touch them. They're
Can't
just
really
floating
touch
around.
them.
Shala and Sola, and they're just floating on around. Warships, though, as well as the Syntria. And honestly, Syntria of Cloudfield, a very strong 1-drop. It is a 2-2, and is looking for some trouble. Warships also very tanky, having 3 HP, gonna be able to just basically weather the storm from the Blade Scout, who loses to the elusive after the first turn. And even though Jonassonfan got the first hits, it's still Ishtein looking for some value with all
Yeah,
of these tough Demasha units.
just dishing out a lot of these units is already bothersome. And you're just putting up elusive units that are like two twos, maybe even the two ones, but it's not gonna last really long. Oh, feather, no, not right now. I wouldn't
He can drop the fleet
suggest.
feathered, so he can get the challenger on whatever the hell he wants.
That's true.
Especially he can go for the drop onto Syntria this turn, and if he goes for the Badger Bear next, it is gonna be a lot of units. But he might also go for the Bannerman to really maximize that value. Now, Ishtein does have a small chance of not getting that Allegiance proc because he's not playing Mod Demasha. I wonder what
Um,
what those Bilgewater cards are. It might be just a little bit of that plunder to get a few steals here or there. The plan of action is to Ishtein to drop it down, and that's gonna be a +1 on 4 units. It's pretty ridiculous on this 4th mana round turn.
Okay, so he actually went for like two more units
Oh.
instead of the Badger.
And that's so
Uh,
sad. Look at that, Jonassonfan. He didn't get the Allegiance proc on the King Cow, so he's not gonna be able to have any chump blockers into this one. And
yeah.
now it's time. Now, very interesting that it's a Syntria getting the Warships boost. Never mind, as I say that, we will see the Fleet Feather get a little bit of that boost action and can drag
Mm.
along not the elusive, interesting enough. It's the Wayfinder instead brought into the light into this one. But Ishtein right now is just looking for blood, and Jonassonfan will barely have any HP to cover all of this later on.
And it's like nine on
Oh,
this.
it looks of
Okay,
iron though.
it's of
Pretty
iron.
clutch. I
Yeah,
love
but
that's
it's
the
not
Freya
it's not
thing.
really helping. I mean, it's helping a bit, but it's not really the best thing.
He keeps his elusive. That's the one thing he does, but he will have to expend mana into this one. And with Ishstein basically having 4 units on the board and having so much in hand, it is looking really good here for our Demashan player. For Jonassonfan, he wants to get some value, especially if he's playing the lifesteal build on to the elusive, the ninja guys basically. If they are able to get a little bit of boost, especially from the dual protector, then they are going to be packing a big punch. But this is usually the turn panda where you drop the protector to get a little bit of that boost action. And I don't think
Hmm.
Jonassonfan can survive another turn, honestly, at this rate.
Yeah, but because if Jonassonfan doesn't really drop anything that can really block and do some potential and even have some cards that can clear the board, it's nothing's gonna happen really. And
And
just Ishta is just dropping minions left and right,
yeah,
followers left and right,
it's just
and
dropping all these cheap units, man. It really is just looking for banner and value.
I mean Jonathan Van doesn't hasn't dropped anything, just attacked. So you could go for another card, but it's not happening. I mean, I think it's just full of spells.
Oh,
Yeah, but
Wayfinder actually gets proc. Oh, there you go, Mr. Panda. So,
two two owls.
You know, the Omen Hawk is a really good combo with the Wayfinder. So basically, guys, in a game like this, when you summon units from the deck, it procs immediately the on-play ability. So that's now a +2/+2 upcoming for those cards. But GG's already basically gone. Well plays are being dropped, and with Ishtein having a lot of units in hand, and it seems like it's time to fill up that board with all these attackers.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. The war. Oh yeah, you can pull elusive units. I
Yes,
forgot
sir.
about that.
It's a hook, man. It's a hook.
The hook.
You catch out. You find apparently elusive units aren't elusive enough to get on away, but in terms of damage, at least there is gonna be that mitigation. The Centurias will be able to get on through with their attack. And honestly,
Yeah.
Jonassonfan, since he got the Allegiance proc, if he does get the proper draw, if he does get the right top deck, then he might have a chance at it if he gets the lifesteal elusive units. But with Ishtein having a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
there's
things
too
in
much
strong
on
things.
board.
Yeah, it's so much. It's so much. Especially if the Radiant Guardian gets dropped, he's gonna have lifesteal, he's gonna have toughness, and he's gonna be looking to destroy every little bit that Jonassonfan has.
Okay, so the Radiant Guardian, um, it will be thrown down. I think that's fine though.
Yeah.
Okay,
The Warrior
claim your
Conspirator though,
recall.
recall. And in the meantime, is there anything else gonna be dropped here by Jonassonfan? Playing an elusive deck in this day and age is still potent, but I feel like there are more tools now to handle things, Mr. Panda. Challengers
Yeah.
are also brought along with the vulnerable type, so instead of basically having that unit challenge things, you can actually pull units in if they're vulnerable. And now with
City of the Ball.
the Century of the Ball doesn't really have space. It's the hatchling right now. That's around 14 damage. Oh, that's enough! That's actually gonna be enough, Mr. Panda!
Oh yeah.
Oh my,
Oh my
what a
goodness.
turnabout! Oh, what a
Yeah, there's nothing
turnabout!
to block with this. It's GG.
That's
They're all elusive
GG.
units as well.
That was
Oh
so
wow. A
close. What
complete turnaround
from
just with 3 units.
from
From
the
nothing to go broke.
dude from
That's
the
annoying. That's
sadness
annoying, dude. Yeah.
from the sadness of the Wayfinder to basically getting such a top deck draw. Ishtein, even though he has all these units on the ground, he cannot compete with the skies. And Jonassonfan, elusives are still mighty, no matter the meta. Gonna be
Yeah.
able to take this first victory in this best of 3.
That's annoying, dude.
Ridiculous
That's
stuff.
annoying.
Ridiculous stuff, Mr. Panda. And how did that go wrong for our Bannerman player?
Nothing went wrong. To
Are
be
you sure?
honest,
Are you
there's
sure?
nothing to say. He could have pulled something else. I mean, that was the only time he could actually kill units, but I don't think there was anything else to say.
It was ridiculous how strong the draws were. The hatchling making it the distance, the conspirators being dropped, and honestly, I was like a little afraid, like, oh, this they're dropping the conspirator, pulling back the starlight. But this has to be a plan. This has to be planned for a elusive player, and he was able to make it for it. The Omen Hawk double drop, effective enough to get a little more oomph in that regards. And since basically the hatchling giving the +2/+2 on everything on the board that turn, there's no real answers. No silence, no purify, nothing being done there. And we do just appreciate these two players right now, bringing in such a distinct
Can I watch
flavor.
this stream?
Wow, can I watch our stream a bit?
Can I say for a bit? I was gonna comment. Yeah.
Oh no, I hide them when I hide the screen when they're chatting and stuff because I want to give them
Yeah,
their
yeah.
privacy.
I mean,
But
there's
yeah.
a long delay. I think just Jonathan is just going to
What?
review what happened. Okay, let's never
He was like, "Oh my god, is that how I won? Oh my god, how close was that?" And oh my god, well, I was able to make it happen. Elusives,
Yeah.
man, was like tier 1S, honestly, tier 1A plus for the first
Yeah.
season, though the preseason, honestly, of this game.
preseason.
But
Yeah,
but now since
because
we are
nobody
into the
knew.
first season,
Yeah, nobody knew how to deal with the elusives right now. And
There-
seeing how things were going, the elusives actually won this game for Jonassonfan.
yeah, oh, Libros.
They who endure.
That's
Yeah, this is a they who endure deck for sure.
Is it?
I've been given. I mean, with the obliterate mechanic, dude, I've seen so many elite
Oh
decks.
my god, those draws though for
Oh,
This-
dude,
this
that's
difficult.
bad for each time. That's really bad.
Yeah, at
Never
least though.
mind.
At least
Never
gonna be
mind.
saving the day. And when
Uh,
you got an Elise on the other side, do you want to drop yours as well? Now
yeah,
it's
I
time
do.
trying to decide what's the plan, and yeah, it's Elise versus Elise immediately. I feel like they do have the same decks as we saw both the Vi as well as the Elise in terms of those
Yeah.
champions.
Oh no,
And
yeah, that's not
is this
the.
an endure deck or is this the
No, it's not.
Karina
It's not.
control?
It's not an
Kor-
injured deck because I think it's the
Karina control.
control. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's the Corino control because it's. I just noticed the icons. They're built over in Shadow Isles. It's supposed to be Freljord in Shadow
Yeah,
Isles.
exactly. So
On the
it's like
debut
this is
tour.
gonna be Corina Veraza looking to just destroy every little bit on the other side with the obliterate mechanic. You were right on one thing, Panda. It is the obliterate mechanic, but
Yeah.
it really is just all about obliterating your own spells and looking to do the damage onto everything on the other side of the field. So honestly, I don't think it's gonna be really a battle of the field right now. It's gonna be a battle to see who
Oh,
can really control who. And with
kill,
Mystic Shot
kill,
in
kill
hand,
your
it's
elite.
time to get the glimpse beyond. Get those two cards on value there for the Elise. It's gonna die anyway. And Ishtein
Yeah.
as well as Jonassonfan gonna be trading blows pretty much pound for pound into this game.
Oh man, even that was a bad. Oh, these are the worst
So Panda,
draws.
Panda, what do you do when you have one lead, Ross?
Get another. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yes you do. You get
Um,
another. You know, the funny thing about Lidros is he does come back if he dies anyway.
yeah,
So
he does.
yeah,
Obliterate
so
him.
that's true. That's
Obliterate him
true.
so he doesn't come back. I
That's
mean,
true.
that's
But
the only way.
that's the only way. But do you
Yeah.
want to? I mean, you have to sometimes when you're
You
really
have
losing.
to.
But
Yeah, well, that's
but
true.
Ishai has two. It doesn't matter. He's gonna be like, oh, okay, you obliterated my first Lidros. He has a brother, co-commander Lidros.
Co-commander
He's
Lidros.
the vice
Yeah, but
commander. You know.
yeah, yeah, honestly, if you're going to come up against a Lidros, you just wanna stall him with maybe one cards because Lidros is not gonna have an overwhelm mechanic anyway, unless it's like a Noxus Shadow Isles, which will never happen in this current meta right now. I don't think it. Yeah, scrolling
Not
right now. Nope,
I feel
that
like the
there's not
might
much.
overwhelm isn't really being used too much. Like you have a
Yeah.
few overwhelms here cards here and there that can actually get super value like MF level 2, but it's not the all in all thing that you're looking for. You're not looking to just penetrate through that damage. And for Ishtein, he is gonna pass on all that mana. He still has the Brood Awakening though. He could have actually gone for the cast there to get a few more units in the way, but you know the turn will end. He wants to save those abilities, those units, and he draws his Karina. And now he might be able
The
to
fight.
get the drop. He will go for the Vi, interesting enough, but I don't think that's going to have any real value except for the jump block. 2-5.
He
That's a pretty sad Vi,
could.
man.
That's true, but he could pull the Elise. I mean, if you're gonna attack, might as well do something with the Vi.
What do
Oh
you think
no, it's not.
is the best decks right now? I think Karina is like one of the
Corina
best decks.
is one of the best
Is
decks.
probably the best. Mid-range Bannerman
Mm,
is ridiculous, especially with Badger Bear existing. The whole fact that Badger Bear as a card exists, you know, that's
yeah,
something.
the bannermans are the most
Yeah, burn.
frustrating to come up against because for every turn, at least you put down one unit or maybe even two.
But,
You
you
know,
know, but right now we're seeing the Korean control in action, and that is just gonna be Vi using that little bit of damage it has to just clear out the board on the other side. The toughness, of course, will also mitigate any spiraling damage from the one ones in the first place. What else is strong? You got your aggro burn, you got your Noxus burn, basically with or without champions. I've seen people play the Swain or the Vlad. I've seen people play without it, so that's another archetype you could know on.
yeah.
And lower on the list, you got your scouts, you got your elusive still, you got every little bit here and there. But for Ishtein, he's a lot of spells, Panda, and I don't think he's the match
Oh
man.
wait,
Oh, okay.
is it,
Jonassonfan will
I think
concede.
that's a disconnect.
Is it disconnect?
Is
Is
it,
it?
is it usually if it's a disconnect, that's instant. If it was a concede, your player has surrendered. Your
Yeah.
opponent has surrendered.
We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, that's
Oh, he
a
left.
disconnect. That's a
Oh,
disconnected.
yeah, it's a disconnect. See, I told you.
So, so we'll have to
So if
figure
it's
out
a
what's the
disconnect,
plan from the
um,
admins, honestly, because yeah, the draws weren't really looking good for either of them, honestly. With Ishtein, he had a lot of 5, 6, and 9s in hand that he didn't really
that's
have the
true.
mana to work on. So, well, we'll have to figure out what the plan is from our admins, just in case we will figure it
Okay,
out.
Jonassonfan went online again. Oh, dude, disconnected at the wrong
Uh,
time.
kind of disappointing, honestly, because I feel like
Yeah.
we were coming up to the crescendo. It's when the orchestra is starting to play a little more on that louder music, and then it's like
GC.
and then that just happens. Anyway, for the time being, we are gonna be looking to get this to work. Hope Jonassonfan is a okay. And we're gonna
Yeah.
be looking to figure out what the call is from our admin. So we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Legends of Runeterra, Philippines UV Tourney, and that was game 2 out of 3. And we'll figure out what's gonna be going on in just a bit. So welcome back, guys, and unfortunately due to disconnection, that is Ishtein taking the victory there. So game number 2, taken by our, well, they were both playing Karina control, but honestly, Ishtein had a lot of the cards he did need for working into the future. So if basically the board state just stayed the same, we might have been having Ishtein ready to go, especially with the two leadresses as well as the Corina in hand. And Jonassonfan, in the meantime, since we don't know what's going on there, well, can't really say much about that. But yeah, Panda, highly unfortunate. But how does really a Corina control versus Corina control matchup work? How does that actually unfold?
Whoever has the better board, that's how you finish off your opponent. Because in any control decks, if the player has the better board and the opponent doesn't have any, keeps reacting to the board, but at the same time can't fill their board, you're basically just losing the game because you're just reacting to it. So yeah, whoever has the better board and the upper hand.
Hello, Ishtein.
Yeah,
Can you
so
stream your game again?
you guys need Mr. Dodge this to inform Mr. Stein to actually get into this. So we hear his lovely voice again here on the casting channel. I was just like, he just shows up out of nowhere. It's like, hey, cast this. Hey, stream this. Come on. Where are we at? Where are we at? And we are at game number 3.
I mean,
So
we have to get things going, guys.
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
So
we explained the stream, so we talked about it about the. So we don't have any information about the hand.
I'm
Oh,
not
you just stream it. I'll deafen you as
yeah,
soon as
we'll
you. Stream.
we'll definitely as soon as your stream is up. Don't worry about that. Since we're not really talking about too much about the other side anyway, so it is what it is. But Mr. Panda, as we have seen, so we saw the Korean control not work out for Jonassonfan, so he had to forfeit. I wonder if he's gonna be bringing that one out again in terms of our
Yeah,
format.
he has to because
He has to.
he's one with his elusive. So
Ishtein,
yeah,
it's,
can
exactly.
you stream?
yeah.
Are
So
you
it's
okay?
either
Yes.
yes.
He's not. He's
Yeah,
not
he's not
responding.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Okay, so back to the point.
Yes.
Since he's lost with his Karina control, he's going to
Be playing it.
he's
Basically
going to
next.
have to play it. So it's going to be like the Bannermans versus Corina control. This is an interesting point. So it's either the Bannerman controls the board or the Corina controls the board. But at this stage of the game, I think I would point it to Corina because Bannerman's a bit slow and it's not really gonna fill the board really quick. I mean, as long as the Corina control deck can handle things step by step, it's gonna work out for the Corina control as I see things.
A mid-range bannerman, it does take a while to
Yeah.
set on up, and honestly, when you're playing that mid-range, sure, you might be able to outvalue your opponent sometimes, but at the same time, having to set up to that point just lets the control deck get closer and closer to its win con. And well, when you have
Yeah.
everything set up, doesn't matter if the Karina gets a big draw, especially with the skill. It's just
Yeah.
goodbye to pretty much everything on your side. There's a lot of tools to really get that AoE damage, and you're playing swarm units versus, well, a lot of spells on the other side, and I can see your point. The Korean control might be able to really drag it out to a point where it is an absolute standstill and will lead to a victory. But it's really gonna be a battle of top meta decks versus top meta decks. And so it was really a big surprise factor looking into basically this conquest format. So there you go, guys, with our description on the format itself. When you bring in 2 decks, you win with the first, then you can't use it. You have to play with your second. You lose with your second, then you play it again. So it is the first one to win with both of your decks in hand, and it's gonna be pretty interesting as we are now gonna get into the action. Here we go again, Mr. Panda. It's the Bannerman versus the Korean control. Let's get it on. Let's get it done, and let's get into the action.
Yep.
So already
Okay,
into the
so
start we go.
what's that?
We're halfway in
Did the-
actually.
Did the Garen just die?
Yeah, so Garen was dropped and
Again.
immediately Ishtein losing it to basically everything being done by Jonassonfan. And with the 7 turn mana already, this is looking really good here for Jonassonfan since we are hopping in mid game as they were unfortunately starting a little on the earlier side. It seems like Ishtein just unable to really form up a big army in behind and at least gonna get dropped in return. So for now, Jonassonfan might be forced to use that to go for the block, but on the other side, the coin with Ishtein gaining a little more value here and now. It is going to look a little scary, but with full HP, on the other hand, the Karina control should be able to cruise on in just a little more.
Yeah, but seeing how things are, that the Bannermans are just set up right now. If he attacks, it's going to depend on how. Okay, it's just an Elise on board.
That just blocks the
The
Bright
4
Steel
3.
Protector.
Okay.
Yeah, just gets in the way, mitigate a little damage, and do a little more on the other side though with the Ring Whale right now, and it should be enough to get
Okay.
rid of that. The Purifier is really not gonna do much. That silence won't really have any value in a matchup like this, except on the commanded Lidras to get rid of that last breath mechanic. But beyond all of that, well, round will end with Ishtein doing some damage, but Jonassonfan again on round 8 right now, pretty happy with how the board is pretty much set up.
Yeah. So I think the Withering Whale should have been like after the attack phase. Let me just. Yeah, I mean, he could have healed for one more. It could be at 13 HP instead of 12. So, I mean, missed
Yeah.
one by there.
Yeah, maybe, and the 1 HP sometimes does make a difference, but now the Vi will get dropped on down. It's at 5-5 by this point. Not the biggest that you would expect, but it should be enough to slow things down to begin with. There we go though with the Rise Seal Protector, protecting the Badger Bear because it is such a potent unit to begin with. And now with the Vi being dropped on down this time, it's interesting Ishtein hasn't really used that Fiora yet. Might be waiting on for a little more mana to actually drop it with a few Bannermans here and there to make it as big as can be.
Yeah. So, with more units just coming on down, I think Ishtein would be in a good place as long as it doesn't get, ruination or maybe obliterated. But, obliterate only targets one, excuse me. So,
Not gonna be coming anytime
It's a-
soon. Now look at the side that
Yeah.
the Bannerman should be dropped and really keeping that Fiora in hand. The Challenger mechanic might be helpful later on into the game, sure, but if he is banking on basically getting that unyielding spirit perhaps to really try to go for a fight, Thermogenic being though slowing things down and getting a few less units on the other side. And for Jonassonfan, he still is going to be on lethal range, I believe, but no, the Vi
Yeah.
is going to get in the way. The Vi is going to get in the way, so
Six.
it's still not going to be enough. 6, 4, 3, that's 13, and the Vi going to drag something along, make sure that there's less units to deal with, and it will be, that is the Bannerman going on down. Now, 6, 4, 3, that's 13, but with the Vi again going for a chump block, should be able to get in the way, but for the time being, a Fiora gets drawn, and that can turn into a pretty decisive riposte if need be.
Oh yeah, the riposte. So could drag the Vi versus the Fiora.
Yeah,
It's
the
gonna be
Purifier.
like 13. It's 13 damage.
Oh, but the
Karina.
Karina's here!
Here we go.
It's time for the Magnum Opus. It is just gonna be a epic finale. Ishtein gonna be giving the well played here and now, but the real question is, what's the draw gonna be giving us? How many spells are on top of that deck? Will we see the Fiora riposte? It's not gonna happen anytime soon. And here comes the
dude,
draw. That's
3
enough to
damage.
get 3 damage.
Enough,
Goodbye to the Bright Steel. Goodbye to the Fiora. Goodbye to the Sintra. The Badger Bear lives on, and it's time to drop the second Fiora onto the board. Perhaps Purify though is still in hand, and Ishtein has pretty much this last card to work with. There's no mana on the other side for Jonassonfan. He just unleashed the beast there with the Karina, and that Magnum Opus honestly doing a lot of damage, and no, seems like it's not going to be the case for the attack.
Yeah. So like I said, like on an earlier explanation, Corino control if they can react properly, and it just did. Basically, it's just GG for the Bannermans right here, and it's just having a hard time.
And by now, getting a drag along. Got Grizzle Ranger in hand here for Ishtein. In the meantime, the Karina gonna be going for damage as well. And the thing about the Karina is that 6/6 is a pretty strong unit, honestly, to just basically dominate any single thing that's pretty normal on the other side. But
Wow,
here comes
that's
the
two
spell.
spells.
It's time for the Vengeance. It's time for the Mystic Shot. Look to clean things up and really just dominate the action. Divide getting a few more power points as well. And goodbye to those units on the board. Spell though, spell
really
mana
bad.
right now. At a low point again for Jonassonfan, and Ishtein is given the opportunity to react in any shape and form that he wants to.
Yeah. So, I think things just went well for Jonassonfan right there. Shh. Be quiet.
I mean,
Sorry.
I like how Ishtein dropped the Grizzle. The Grizzle Ranger is a really good drop because it is 4 power, and if the Vi does drag it along, it's not gonna be able to survive the test of time. That's for sure. And the Badger Bear will come out, which is even worse, man. Which is even the worst part. So for Ishtein, he's getting some really clutch draws, but the Withering Wail might really hurt him into this one. Brood Awakening though, bringing in a few more units here and there, basically to block out these upcoming scout attacks.
Yeah, it's really annoying actually to see the way things are working for Ishtein, but it is what it is, and
Just have to
he
accept
can't
it,
really do
basically.
anything to be honest. Just block, to be honest, but he's gonna attack. That's fine.
I mean,
Which is fine.
don't really lose much about this. Sure, your Rangers will die, but they will turn into Badger Bears instead. Here comes the Spiders, no getting in the way. Static Shock right now, also making sure that it is going to be a KO there. Not losing any Spiders, so few more damage points. Gonna be in favor of Jonassonfan later on. And we'll see what Ishtein is gonna be up to into this next turn. He's still holding on to that Purify though, and I feel like he really wants to surprise his opponent when he does go for the commitment.
Yeah, honestly, Ishtein can only block right
Oh,
here.
a second Purify, but that doesn't really
Nah.
help. You only need one.
Doesn't-
You only need one right now. Oh, never mind. The
Doesn't-
Legis is dropped. That's when you might need it, but. Oh, that's gonna be a lot of damage onto the next Mr. Panda, and I don't think Ishtein will have enough units right now to block. Only having those 2 Badger Bears with the Leaders on the board and with the Vi as well as the Leaders at such a big points. The Karina giving 6, and it is just time to
It's lethal.
block things out. Yeah, it's lethal, absolutely lethal here. There's no surviving. Can't we just use those Purifies just for good measure? It's on to
Yeah.
the Spider, and I'm surprised he didn't use it on the Vi whatsoever. But we can't use it though. It's only a follower. It's only a follower thing. So you're gonna drop it onto the lead shows at the very least. But
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is, and that should be game, set, and match. Ishtein gonna be bowing on that to Jonassonfan. Even with the DC, our opposing player is gonna be able to take this one down, and well played in this series. A 2-1 victory here. Ishtein with 1, Jonassonfan with 2, and he moves on to the next round.
And it's congratulations to Jonassonfan. Looks like he moves on, man. But he should avoid getting disconnected.
Yeah, he has to be careful. You have to be
Yeah.
very, very wary with your internet. You have to make sure that you're gonna be able to have a stable connection. And that was a pretty interesting round number 3 as well. Some really good games actually, back to back, as well as some really, really interesting matchups overall. But kudos to Jonassonfan. Moving on, we are seeing a bunch of round 4 matchups already looking to set on up, and we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Legends of Runeterra Philippines Newbie Tournament, sponsored by Battlefy. Really trying to bring in a new flavor as well as some new faces in the Runeterra PH community. If you guys do love the game, feel free to communicate as well as interact. Use the commands down below to get into the Facebook group, and we'll see you guys very, very soon for our next round.